Thank you, Mr. Secretary. John Parvinsky of the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless and the National Coalition for the Homeless Board of Directors. First of all, I want to thank you for your commitment to homelessness. The increase in the homeless assistance grants, very important at this point in time. I think it demonstrates that you and the President, unlike some other leaders in our country, do care about the very poor and do recognize that there's a hole in our safety net that needs to be addressed here at the federal level. But two things. One, to recognize that, as you mentioned, with the expiration later this year of the ERA-funded Homeless Prevention and Rapid Rehousing Program, that there will be a net reduction of resources at the local and state levels to deal with the increased need that we're seeing throughout our communities in terms of shelter, in terms of emergency services, eviction assistance, and more children in our schools who are homeless. And we need to recognize that, that we still have a lot of work to do in order to meet that increasing need. And then secondly, in order to implement the federal strategic plan to prevent and end homelessness, we're being pushed to move people to mainstream resources, and that those mainstream resources do include other housing resources that HUD controls and funds. And so as it's important to increase the supply of public housing, Section 8, tenant-based and project-based, and that we need to do all that we can to remove the barriers that we're seeing for homeless individuals and families to be able to move into those resources. And the $75 minimum rent is something that will create a barrier for many of our people to be able to achieve that. So we thank you for your efforts, and we'll work to implement that on the national basis.
Thank you for the recognition that around the homeless programs in particular, that we have continued to make a real investment there. I would just say two things. On HPRP, moving to Emergency Solutions Grant, or ESG, what we have started to see that is very encouraging, and this was always the intention with HPRP, is that a recognition that the homeless systems at the state and local level need to change and need to prioritize prevention, but particularly rapid rehousing. And I think what we're seeing, and I certainly was part of this in New York, is a recognition that shifting resources out of shelters, out of emergency rooms and Medicaid savings into prevention and rapid rehousing is something that ultimately in total will save money and dramatically better for those families. So we do think that working with you and all your partners around these issues, we need to figure out how to continue that movement. It's happening in a lot of places. It's not happening everywhere. But that with an increased investment in ESG, plus other resources that get sort of redirected from high-cost alternatives now to the lower-cost alternative of rapid rehousing and prevention, that we can get there. And just one thing I would give you on this, we thought that HPRP would help about 500,000 folks. We're now at 1.2 million and counting, and 75% of those we've helped are in families. And what we've realized is it's actually, the average spending per family is far less than we thought it would be. That's why we've been able to get so many more people. And I think it's a very good reminder that flexible, targeted resources that are really customized to what a family needs or an individual needs can be very, very effective on ending homelessness. And so we think it's a real model that many people have adopted. On the mainstream resources, absolutely agree with you. That's why, whether it's the VASH vouchers or other things that we're focused on. We also are focused on, and Sandy was just in Los Angeles doing a meeting with a range of housing authorities, making sure we're bringing down the barriers to homeless families, homeless individuals using those mainstream resources where it's the appropriate choice for them, right? It may be supportive housing, but it could also just be a voucher or a public housing unit, that we want to work with housing authorities to do that. So we've started a proactive series of roundtables and other things to do that. We're also going to be sending out a letter, if we haven't already, I'm looking for somebody from multifamily, to our multifamily owners, sort of in the same way we did with public housing, dealing with some of the myths around reentry and other barriers that many homeless folks see to getting into those resources. A lot of times they think HUD has restrictions that stop those individuals or families from entering, and many of those are myths. We want to clear those up and make sure we're sending the right message to our partners on that.